It's September 2023 and something smells fishy in the Atlantic Ocean. Let me run you through some news stories. First, the Brazilian Federal Police and the Brazilian Navy stopped a fishing vessel called Palmares 1 off the coast of Recife, Brazil. It was reportedly heading to West Africa, carrying 3.6 tons of cocaine. That's quite a lot. To put it into context, it's the largest offshore seizure of cocaine by Brazil ever. Next, a fishing vessel, which departed from France, was intercepted off the coast of West Africa by a French surveillance frigate. They seized 2.4 tons of cocaine. 2 days later, a huge bulk carrier called the MV Matthew, which was sailing under the Panamanian flag, was boarded by the Irish Army Ranger Wing. A search of the ship revealed 2.2 tons of cocaine inside a lifeboat, which the crew incidentally tried to set on fire shortly before. And finally, Spanish law enforcement stopped a fishing vessel called Mathieu, about 600 nautical miles from Cape Verde. They seized 60 bales of cocaine, weighing about a ton. The interesting thing is, all of these huge seizures happened somewhere in and around the Atlantic Ocean, and they all happened in September of this year. Welcome to Deep Dive Monitoring from the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organised Crime. This is a month of drug seizures.
The vast majority of cocaine that's produced in South America makes its way inevitably across the Atlantic, either directly to Europe and European markets, or indirectly through Africa and into Europe. There's a growing flow moving through Africa and further afield to destinations like East Asia and Australia, New Zealand in particular. The interesting thing about seizures is that there's no direct correlation between seizures and something like production, volume of production, or volume of flow. Seizures are better looked at as an indicator of the presence and effectiveness of law enforcement in a way. But we can use seizure data to tell us what is moving in certain places, and through add-on intelligence, maybe even things like who's moving it, where's it coming, and where do we think it's going. But not an awful lot beyond that.
One thing that's highlighted through these seizures is the method of transportation, shipping. Whether a fishing vessel like the one off the edge of West Africa or a giant bulk carrier making its way slowly up the Irish Sea.
Well, shipping is probably the diamond dog of the entire cocaine trade, because it's by far the easiest way, and in many ways the most efficient way, to move cocaine from point of origin to destination. The volume of illicit trade that moves through the shipping industry is wonderful cover for the volume of illicit trade. And this goes beyond just cocaine, but it's a wonderful environment within which groups can exploit the systems, the places, and the technology to move their drugs. How does it move? Oh, in many, many ways. You can have containers that are contaminated with drugs, meaning they put the drugs in after the container has been sealed and put on a ship. You have organizations that create front companies and send entire containers themselves, knowingly that it's completely filled with cocaine or some other substance. You can have smaller vessels, often where the crew and or the captain is part of the network, where the drugs are put into the hold and moved along. A common technique with smaller vessels is to meet in international waters and transfer the drugs to an even smaller ship. Think fishing vessel, tugboat, things like that, which then moves it ashore and beyond. And then there's the traditional, I'm going to fill my yacht with cocaine and sail it off to wherever.
In total, the September seizures amounted to nearly 10 tons of cocaine. You'd imagine that this might have caused a huge dent in the cocaine market, but it's not as simple as that.
Well, we tell ourselves that it does, and we like to think that it does, particularly if you have a seizure of several tons. But I think in the grand scheme of things, the answer to that is no. Quite often, you're seeing a situation where seizures have occurred near that market or in that market, yet if there was an impact at all or any sort of disruption, it's been temporary and it's been overcome. So that tells us that we're seizing a tiny amount of what is an unknown large volume of cocaine moving through these networks.
So, seizures are certainly commendable and make a good headline. And yes, those drugs never made it to the market. But they are just a snapshot in time. 750 million containers are shipped every year, and it's estimated that only 2% of those are inspected. So what's the way forward?
I think when we look at this, we have to ask, what can we do different that might have a more amenable result for the communities involved? And I think that involves re-examining the way that we use law enforcement in respect to addressing drugs and drug markets, looking at the role of public health institutions and increasing their involvement in the entire situation, re-examining the national strategies that we develop that are often based on a militarized response to drugs, and maybe reorganizing it around a human rights, public health, humanity oriented strategy when it comes to drugs. I think where we are today is in a position that we recognize what's been occurring over the last 20 to 30 years hasn't been working. So we need to find another way.
For more information on international drug markets, flows, and those behind them, head over to our website, globalinitiative.net. This has been Deep Dive Monitoring from the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organised Crime. Thanks for watching.